Hello, movie fans. Welcome to another episode of Logan's Movie Reviews. And today we are talking about El Camino, the Breaking Bad spin-off movie. And I'm joined once again by Juan Silva. How you doing, man?
Hey, good afternoon, Logan. Good afternoon, movie fans. As we talk about the recently released Netflix movie, the sequel to Breaking Bad, El Camino, starring the great Aaron Paul.
Right, the guy who plays Jesse. And this is his story after he is broken out by Walter White from that captivity that he was in, being forced to cook meth by a gang of white supremacists. Um, have you revisited the series since it ended, or was this the
No,
first
because
time?
about a year ago, we did a greatest episodes of Breaking Bad. Which
That's
is the
right,
one that we did? We did the one which
where he
the,
killed
the
Gus.
one where when he killed Gus. Yeah, and I watched every episode then. So before I watched this movie, I didn't have to go back and watch Breaking Bad because it was still fresh in my mind. Because I watched the entire series in like a month, and it was unbelievable. The chemistry between Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul as Walt and Jesse was tremendous. It was like a father-son type relationship, even though Walt did Jesse dirty many a
Oh
time,
my
getting the
God,
kid
he was
sick,
a dick.
letting his first girlfriend die. Jane,
Overdose.
eh, yeah, overdose. He just watched as she OD'd. Man. But in the end, the final episode, Walt
He
freed him.
saved him.
Walt got
Right,
Jesse out of there, and that's where
and
this movie
sacrifice.
picks up. Yeah, it picks up right there. Yeah. Walt says like Walt knew he was gonna die anyway. He said, "Get the fuck out of here, Jesse. Go."
Right. I mean, he was going to die of cancer at some point very quickly. He was on his last legs. His family was, I think, had abandoned him at that point.
Yeah,
So,
they want. He had to threaten his former colleagues to put the money in to set up a trust fund for his son in order for that money to go to them.
right. So, this is the story of what happens to Jesse because people probably always wondered, he broke out of there. He was very fucked up in the head after being, I don't know how long he had been in captivity. Seems like
I think
more than a year.
I think it was like 18 months, something like that, because they kept mentioning a year and a half.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, so he was just chained up and held in prison, like some underground hole, and then forced to cook meth for them. Um, so we get this when the movie opens, it's him talking to Mike, who I forgot. Walter White kills Mike in the
This
Breaking
is
Bad
the
show.
scene right before he dies.
Oh, okay. And Mike is recommending that when this is all over that he should go to Alaska since it's a good place to start over. But uh, that's about it for Mike's scene. So he's just then we see the scene of him running away from the scene that the last scene of Breaking Bad, the
Mm.
last show, where Walter rigged up some machine gun and killed everybody in the house, and
Including
he
himself.
also
It,
yeah, and ends up
yeah, he got
killing
shot
himself.
too. Yeah. Hmm.
So the cops are racing towards there, and he's fleeing in the El Camino of, let's see, what is that guy? The
Oh, you
guy
talk
who
about the
Todd.
guy that looks like the guy who looks like Matt Damon on Down syndrome with Down syndrome.
Yeah, he was like fat Matt
Todd,
Damon.
Todd, Todd.
Yeah,
Yeah, Meth Damon, Todd.
this guy is an interesting character because he's just this cold-hearted killer. Remember that kid that they just saw, they just waved at on in the desert, and he just decided to kill that kid, and they were like really upset with him.
Oh, that was horrendous. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I think they ended up giving a bunch of money to his parents, just leaving it there
Right.
to
Right. Yep.
kind of make up for it. But so he races to the home of Skinny Pete and Badger, his two buddies that he was kind of dealing with back during the show.
My my favorite scene of this movie. I loved this scene. I loved the love that Skinny Pete and Badger showed Jesse. The unconditional love and friendship. This broke my heart, man. I loved it. They gave him practically all the money that Walt had paid them to use the laser on his colleagues to scare them. Say, I got some sharpshooters out there ready to kill you if you don't follow my orders. I mean, they brought him in. They gave him a shower. They fed him, and Jesse asked Skinny Pete, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Man, you my hero. Don't you know you my hero?" And Skinny Pete came up with the idea: take Badger's car. I'll keep your car. And when the police come, I'll just say you stopped over. We smoked some bud and you left. Love this scene, and we need a Skinny Pete and Badger show. That's what we want.
Oh, that would be funny too. Skinny Pete looks like the quintessential drug addict. My God,
yes,
look at that,
yes.
the face on him.
Actually, he looks much better in this episode than he did any time doing Breaking Bad. Because in Breaking Bad, he looked like a down and out crackhead ready to die. Here, he's got more life to his face, even though he still looks like a drug addict. He looks like a recovering drug addict. In fucking Breaking Bad, he looked like he was on death's door.
Yeah, so what happens is he has to get rid of the car because people are looking for it. So he calls over old Joe, who owns this impound lot or the a junkyard, and he asks him to come and take the car. But then he notices that there's a LoJack on the car, which are alerting the police. So he's like, and he starts running away, and he's like, the police are coming. So Jesse wants to get in that car and just start running, and that's where Skinny Pete says, "Hey, look, you take Badger's car. Badger will take my car and drive it to the border and hide it in some bush, so they'll think you went to Mexico, that you flew to Mexico, that you fled to Mexico, and meanwhile you can just go what you need to do and get away with Badger's car, and I'll just say that we swap cars." So before they figure out what happened, then that'll allow Jesse to get away. And Jesse, he is taking Mike's advice. He's planning to go to Alaska. So this movie it takes a flashback. It shows us like a scene that we had that actually wasn't. I mean, it just happened during the time of Breaking Bad when he was in captivity with Todd, and Todd lets him out when everybody's away. All the rest of the gang are away. It's just him and Jesse. He gets him out of the prison that he's in and takes him to his house where he wants to get this El Camino roof on his car and dispose of his housekeeper, who he killed because his housekeeper found money that he had stashed all over the house inside these little encyclopedias. So his housekeeper's on the floor dead, and he's like, "You want some soup?" I mean, this just shows you the kind of cold-bloodedness Todd is a sociopath. He just doesn't even think about like how disgusting it is. Jesse's like probably starving, but he can't even eat. But Todd is sitting there eating and talking about how it's important to keep money and cash on hand, and this is where Jesse realizes that he must have a lot of money stashed in his house that no one found, because he probably found a pretty good hiding place over it. And though it's been tossed by police, he's determined to go back in there and get it. So we see that they go and they dispose of his housekeeper in the flashback. Todd is even a little sentimental about it. Like, he's really sad that he had to kill his housekeeper, but there's really nothing he could do, he thought, because she found the money, even though she brought it right to him and she probably wasn't going to tell anybody. But he's just, and he strangles her with his belt, and then he's rolling up the body. He's like, "Oh, I need that belt." And so he takes the belt off her neck and puts it back on his pants. And then they got this nosy neighbor guy who's constantly butting in their business, and they have to wait for him to go bowling before they can wrap the body up and drop it off the balcony. And they drop it off with a thud. They put it in the car and they go bury her in the desert. Um, they they so oh yeah, so he's seeing the news report. He's broken into this dude's house. This dude's dead now in the movie. In the present, he's dead because he was killed in that conflagration at the
Yeah, because
last scene.
he was killed in that last scene with the rest of
He
the
was
Nazis.
strangled. He was strangled by Jesse, who strangled him with his handcuffs.
Jesse, oh my God, he let out all. Yeah.
Right.
He let it all out when
So
he strangled him to death. Yeah, yeah.
he sneaks in. He barely um, gets in without being noticed by the nosy neighbor, but he gets in there and he sees that he tears apart the entire house. He cannot find this fucking money. He looks across the way into the house adjacent and he sees that there's some newscast on and its parents are on TV. So he turns on the TV in Todd's house and sees his parents begging for him to turn himself in. And he's really frustrated. He can't. He's just like, where is this fucking money? And he hears something shift inside the door of the refrigerator and figures out that he has all the money stashed inside the refrigerator. But then when he's just about noticing that, these two guys dressed like cops come in and they act like they're just doing another sweep of the house, and the neighbors talking to them and being annoying to them too, but they're just
Mhm.
like determined, and you could tell that it's hard to we don't know right away that they're not cops, but I suspected pretty much that they were just trying to find the money because it looked like the house had already been way
Yeah, the day
already
before.
tossed. Yeah, even before
Yeah.
Jesse got there. But then Jesse even made it even more like he just ripped apart everything. So he's sitting there hiding in the house while they're searching, and one of them comes up upon him and he points a gun at him and he tries to. Yeah, he basically takes one of them hostage and they just convince him like, look, dude, you're fucked. Like, this place is surrounded by cops, and you're not going to get anywhere just taking one of us hostage. So he surrenders to them, but then he realizes when they start tying his hands with a rope instead of handcuffs that he's not that they're not cops. And while one of them goes to distract the nosy neighbor, he's talking to the other one, and he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you before you to save his life, he tells the guy, look, I know where the money is. And he says, but I need a quarter of it. I need actually, he wanted half of it. And the guy's like, fuck you. I'm not going to give you half. I'm just going to shoot you right now. He's like, no, you're not. You're not going to shoot me because
Mhm.
if you do, then everybody's going to be rushing in here and you're going to have to explain what the fuck you're doing here. And it's going to be a big problem
Yep.
for you. You're not going to be able to have any of the money. So he's like, all right, fine. So you can take a third of it. And he sends him and he lets him go with a third of it. Um, and I think he realizes that this guy, that one of the guys that is pretending to be a cop, is a welder who helped fashion the rope line
Cage
that,
that
or it's like
the cat
this,
in the cage that he was in.
yeah, like his he's basically the designer of his prison.
Mhm.
So, and he realizes, he sees the truck where he works is this welding company. So he recognizes that, and that's when he recognizes the dude. Um, so he finds so then he goes searching for all these different vacuum cleaner stores. You can tell like he's got a whole list of them that he's going down because he's trying to find the guy played by the guy from Jackie Brown. His name is Ed Galbraith in the movie. He's
Robert
played,
Forster, who died the day this film was released,
yeah. So this guy's the
and he
disappearer.
and speaking of Jackie Brown, he was nominated for an Oscar for that role.
Yeah, he went to he found himself. I mean, he was in the Breaking Bad show. I remember when there was that scene when Walter was like living in the woods for a while and hiding,
Now,
and he was like,
somewhere in I want to say New Hampshire or Vermont, where he was living in a cabin.
Right.
right?
So
Yeah,
he,
and
he
this guy would bring him food and newspapers every month, and he would tell him, "Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave."
yeah, he wanted to talk to him for longer. And he's like, he'd
Hmm.
give him all this money just to stick around for like an hour longer just because he needed human contact. And he was
Yeah,
supposed to help Jesse get out too, but then Jesse never showed.
Jesse missed. Jesse no showed.
Right. And he owed this guy like 125,000 from that. So he, after first just pretending like he didn't know what he was talking about, he finally said, "All right, if you want me to do this, you got to pay me 125 from last time and 125 for this time." And Jesse has all that except for like $1,800. So,
Yep.
and the guy's like, "You're gonna fucking." He's like, "I'm giving you all this money." He's like, "You're gonna hold me up for 1,800?" And he's like, "A deal's a deal." So this guy's a real stickler, and he's just like, I'm not doing it for any less." So he wraps up all his money and sends him on his way. It tells him to fuck off. Um, so knowing that, so he figures he's gonna go get the money maybe from his parents' safe. So he calls up his parents and he tells them, "Hey, I'm ready to turn myself in. Can you meet us where we used to go for picnics?" And he knows that their phones and everything are being monitored, so that gets them out of the house so that he can just sneak in there and go into the safe. But in the safe, he doesn't find any money, but he finds two guns, and he takes those guns and he goes back to the welders who are having a little like sex party with some hookers celebrating the
Yeah, with
fact
the
that they
money
got
that
all this
with
money.
the money that they found. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So there he's watching them, waits for the hookers to leave, and then he just kind of goes in there and he's like, "Listen, all I need is $1,800. I'm not trying to rob you. I just want $800, then I'll be on my way." And I don't know what possesses this one dude, the one that he recognized, to. Well, before we get to this scene, because this is a classic scene, there's a few other scenes that are important. Like at one point when he's burying the body of the housekeeper, he finds a gun in the glove compartment, and he's like, that's his chance to get away. He could just shoot Todd and get away, but because he's so psychologically damaged,
He's fucked
he's
up.
able.
Yeah.
Todd
Hmm.
Todd just offers him like a pepperoni pizza, and that's enough to get him to give up because they've just broken this guy, and you can tell like what a damaged person he is from his experience from that. So just kind of a little bit of character stuff when you start to see how fucked up Jesse has become. But anyway, so now that he's got this, he's back in there. He just needs this $1,800, and he's going to disappear. And he's going to disappear without any money because all his money is going to go to just paying um, Ed Galbraith the money to disappear. But that's all he needs. He doesn't care. He just wants to get away, disappeared, new identity, and all that.
Oh,
So
well,
he
we
asks for
forgot
the.
to mention he's a suspect in Walter White's murder. That's why he's got to disappear.
Well, he's the only one out of this entire drug operation that's alive. So in a way, you can tell the police they want to talk to him because they're probably that's the only one they can charge with anything because everyone else is dead. But
Hmm.
that's another thing. But yeah, they're totally after him, and that's why the parents are like on TV pleading for him to turn himself in. Um, so this one guy of the two that were trying to search Todd's house, pretending to be cops, he offers to do a little Western duel with him, saying, "Look," because he thinks he only has one gun. He thinks he has this tiny little gun, and he's like, "I have my gun, you have your gun, so let's do a little duel." But then Jesse turns the tables on him and shoots him with the other gun that's in his pocket, pointed already at him. So he gets into a firefight with the other guy. He shoots the one guy. He shoots the other dude after a firefight, and he lets the rest of the crew go after taking their driver's license, saying, "I know where you live, so don't fuck with me." And he takes the other third of the money that was, and I guess he lets the third of the money just burn in the fire when he blows up the place.
So I thought he took both because one was in the guy's car, and the other guy he found the other bag there before he burned the place down. He got all the money.
Okay. Oh, he got all of it. Okay. And he got away, and those two dudes are dead. So he goes back to Robert Forster, Ed Galbraith, gives him the and the other Ed has showed him, has like given him a whole new identity, a new parents, story. Everything about his life is just like a fabrication, and he has to memorize it. And he's quizzing him as he's doing it, and he sends him on his way to Alaska, where he sees his girlfriend from the movie that ended up overdosing.
But time out before. Well, he has a flashback having lunch or dinner with Walt in a diner.
Oh, right. After they've been doing some cooking in that
right.
In that trailer. Trailer. Right. That was when they were using the trailer to cook stuff, and they had been cooking for like over 24 hours. He's ravenous, hungry. Walter doesn't even have an appetite because he's doing chemo, and he's just like coughing up blood.
He's coughing up, yeah. Yep, he's coughing up blood.
And this was actually, they brought in Bryan Cranston here to do this shoot, and they snuck him in with a private jet because he was doing the movie. He's doing the show Network on Broadway now.
On Broadway, yes, Broadway, yeah.
Right. So they had to like do everything.
It would probably be on a Sunday or a Monday.
Yeah.
Broadway goes dark, I think, on Monday. There are no Broadway plays, maybe one or two, and that's probably the day they stuck him in a private jet. Because as soon as he filmed the scene, he got right back on the plane to do his Tuesday performance.
Yeah, and no one knew, and it was all they did this whole shoot in like total secrecy. They had to like hide everything because I guess they just didn't want people knowing that it was being made.
Well, what happened was there was a original. They fooled the entire public. Vince Gilligan had announced that he was doing a movie with Aaron Paul called Green Diggers or some shit, and that apparently had nothing. It was not supposed to be. It was a cover for El Camino. Green Diggers or some shit like the name of the movie was supposed to be a non-breaking. Yeah, and they filmed this movie, and no one knew until Bob. How do you say his name? Oden. How do you say
Odenkirk.
Odenkirk posted a picture on Twitter saying, "Hey, we just finished filming the Breaking Bad movie of Vince Gilligan and Aaron Paul, and here I came to visit." And a lot of people thought maybe he was going to do a cameo, but no, he just visited the set.
Right. So he survives, right? I mean, he's not dead at the end of Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul, right?
He got Robert Forster helped him get out of town.
Right, and gave him a new identity. So even after Better Call Saul,
his bodyguard was left to Walter White had handcuffed his bodyguard, the big black dude, in his office, and we don't know what happened to him.
Right. But so they have this scene where he's talking to Jesse and saying, you're lucky because you didn't have to wait your whole life before doing something really great. And that's it. They just kind of have that scene. It's very, I don't know, it gives you some nostalgia of the old show. Apparently, he didn't actually shave his head for this. He wore a bald cap, but man, it looks pretty good. Because usually bald caps.
He had to because of his role on Broadway has him with a head full of hair, so he had to do that.
But he did a good job because it looked like he really shaved his head.
It looked bald to me.
Yeah. So he then goes off into the sunset. He has a little hallucination of his time with Jane Margolis.
Yeah.
The girl who plays now, she's on a show, right?
Jessica Jones.
Yeah, she's Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So she came back and gave him kind of encouragement to keep going, and he rides off into his new life. It's a pretty simple movie, but well done and suspenseful, and well done, especially by the actor um, Aaron Paul, who
Oh, he
was a
deserves.
nobody.
I don't. I don't know what you would call this, a TV movie or a theatrical release. It's on Netflix, but whether it's Emmy or Oscar, whatever he's eligible for, he needs to get a nomination because he was sensational. He carried this movie on his own. He never had to carry anything in Breaking Bad. The he was the 1B to Walter White. Walter White was the main character, Bryan Cranston. This he got to shine on his own, and we mentioned earlier on our boxing podcast. This should be the beginning of a new series with Jesse out in Alaska. I don't know what kind of show it would be. I don't want him dealing drugs. I don't want him, but him having a deal. I think it would be a great series with him meeting a woman and him trying to overcome PTSD and everything else that he had to go through. I mean, recovering drug addict, the whole nine. He could, go ahead.
He could be like a I think like a anti-hero. Like he could come up against maybe some drug dealers there, and you know.
Yeah, he could be in a small town in Alaska where he saves this young woman and her son, right? And,
right.
And then he becomes some type of anti-hero where he battles the evildoers in the community. That's a great concept. And, you know, Vince Gilligan, I'm sure, might have something in mind for this. You just can't leave this movie to end. We need to see the continuation of Jesse Pinkman and him becoming great. I mean, he'll have a new name, the name that Robert Forster gave him, and you take it from there.
Yep. And maybe you could have people trying to like maybe finding out his past and then him having to deal with that.
Yeah, especially if he's dealing with evil drug lords. And they're like, we got to find out who this motherfucker is that keeps blowing up our shit.
Right. So you could do something for sure. But he was a nobody before this show, and now he's a big star. But you know, this show could have just been canceled after the first season. You know, I mean, but
they found. You know what? I can't see anybody else playing these two dudes. This show would not have survived if you had different actor or actors playing either of these guys.
Yeah. I like the way he always kept calling him Mr. White, like the way he did when he was in class with him. He never called him Walter.
But Mr. White.
But yeah, let's talk about all the ways in which Mr. White fucked him over. He poisoned that little kid, trying to make him look like it was Gus. He almost
let his
killed
girlfriend
him.
die. Mm-hmm.
He let his girlfriend die. He was developing a bond with Gus, and he had Gus killed just to save his own ass.
And he killed Mike, and Mike was like had become a mentor to Jesse.
Right. So he just really fucked with Jesse just for his own ends. It turned out that this guy, I mean, he was an ass. Walter was an ass, ultimately. He was not that cool.
I understood why he did what he did. Jesse was like his adoptive son, and he didn't want anybody getting in between him and Jesse. It was like, that's my man. You can't have my man.
Yeah. Anytime
if you think about it, Jesse respected Walt more than his own son did.
Oh, absolutely, and he seemed to be more close to Jesse than he was to his own son.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this movie was good. I mean, I thought it was. Sometimes when they do these things, you're like, why do you do this? But I thought it was a fun ride. What are you hearing in general about people liking it?
Oh man, it's been mostly great reviews, and every podcast I've listened to on this has loved it. This is what I compare this movie to. go to a you go to a diner, and you get the sundae that they love. I mean, everybody raves about this sundae. This movie, the sundae is Breaking Bad. This movie is the cherry to go on top of that sundae.
Right. And a great farewell performance by Robert Forster. And
who, when he
I think
filmed this movie, was dying of brain cancer. He was dying of brain cancer when he filmed this movie.
Yeah, so great for him to have a final role there, and just so good, man. I'm glad Jesse. I mean, I almost feel like though he's got to get out of the shadow of Jesse Pinkman, but maybe that's just the role he's destined to play forever.
Hey man, you got to pay the bills. The man has I'm sure he has a lavish lifestyle, and this series will pay him. This movie paid him good money, and the series will definitely pay him good money. And I can see Netflix and AMC begging Vince Gilligan, come on, we got to do a show. I mean, Vince Gilligan right now, I don't think this series will happen right away. You got to wait till Better Call Saul ends, and then we can see the Jesse Pinkman show.
Do you watch Better Call Saul?
I've watched the first 8 episodes so far. I'm so busy. I've only watched the first 8 episodes of season 1, and so far, man, that show is great. I
know it's more of a comedy.
Who would have thought
Breaking Bad?
Who would have thought Lenny from Lenny and Squiggy could be such a great dramatic actor?
Oh yeah, he's great. You don't even know it's him.
He's great. He's great, and perfect guy to play Saul's brother, Jimmy's brother. Forgot what Jimmy's real last name is, but Jimmy's brother. And it's a great backstory as to how this lawyer, who was idealistic. He was idealistic. He wanted to do everything by the book. He didn't want to take money. So you see the transformation of this do-gooder eventually become a corrupt attorney.
Yeah. By the way, this movie did have some theatrical release, so it can be considered for Oscar.
Good.
It was very limited.
Well, I'm hoping Aaron Paul. It's a lot of stiff competition. I mean, De Niro and Pacino are going to get Oscar nominations for The Irishman, which will also be on Netflix after limited theatrical release, and it'll be another movie we'll be reviewing this year.
Yeah, did you see it?
The weekend. No, I'm going to wait till it comes on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. It was good.
Yeah, it's coming on
Netflix
November 27th. So we'll be reviewing that movie after I watch it.
3 hours and 30 minutes.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, we're definitely gonna review it. Anything with De Niro and Pacino in it, I gotta watch. And the return of Joe Pesci out of his long retirement.
Yeah, he looks like shit, but he did a good job. It looks like he has cancer, but I don't know. Maybe he's just old. Anyway, so all right, man. So I guess we can wrap this one up. What do you got next time for us? You told us, right?
We're doing. I mentioned. Well,
that's
right. A lot of people listen to this and don't listen to the other podcast. We're doing Piranha, the Life and Times of Sonny Liston, a documentary that will be premiering on Showtime Friday night. So that will be the review we will be doing next week. The Life and Times of Sonny Liston. It's going to be. I heard nothing but great reviews, and Showtime has had a tremendous year this year in documentaries. The Teddy Pendergrass documentary, the Wu-Tang multi-part documentary, and I forgot they did a Motown 60th anniversary documentary that was sensational.
Okay. All right, so this is the Sonny Liston. He was called the Piranha?
No, I think that's just the title of the documentary. That wasn't his nickname in real life. I guess it's Piranha because of the life he led. I mean, he led Sonny Liston led a very deviant life.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at that, and that'll be a joint World Championship Boxing Logan's Movie Reviews feature there. So looking forward to that, man. All right, well, so we'll talk soon. Juan Silva, thanks again.
Enjoy your week coming up. Talk to you next weekend, big man.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a good one.